Joseph now gets the ring put on his finger. Yes, sir. And he gets a new robe. Yes, sir. Gets a chariot. Trying to tell you that some things are shifting in your life. The king takes off his own ring. The ring that has a signet on it. And the signet on the ring alone, even if you were wearing a white tee and short pants, you could see that signet on the ring and know your royalty. What you trying to say to me? It's about to be more apparent than ever that you are royal people. A chosen generation. Touch somebody and tell them God's about to put his signet on you. They're going to see it in the city. They're going to see it in the field. They're going to see it wherever you are. Can you love on a higher level? See, some of you can't love on the right level. What you talking about, Pastor? Okay, I'll tell you what I'm talking about. Joseph, now there's a famine in the land. Joseph is over the famine. He was the one that broke or gave, interpreted the dream, and then gave the strategy for saving Egypt during the time of famine. And if anybody needed food, anybody needed to be saved, they had to come to Joseph. Joseph now comes into his judgment room where people normally stand before him, and he sees his brothers. They don't even notice him, because when they put him in that pit and sold him, he was a little boy. Now he's a grown man, good looking, anointed, and rich. Has power and authority. Has enough power that if he was still bitter, he could have had them all killed. But the scripture says, when Joseph saw them, he wept sorely. Here's the thing. He didn't cry while some of you cried. Some of you will cry because you still can't get rid of the memory of what they did to you. The scripture says Joseph cried because he missed them. See, it's another level of love that opens up another level of favor. He was crying not because I can't believe y'all did this to me. He was crying because I missed y'all so much. Charity is a major component, because without charity, God cannot trust you with the advantage. How you handle caves and how you handle false accusations and imprisonment will determine how you come out. I've got to prophesy to somebody and tell them, you're not just coming out. Because it's one thing to be freed, but it's another thing to be freed into elevation. There are a lot of people who are in prison that come out of prison and are now in a disadvantage because there are people that will not hire them because they were in prison. Now, that's some of our people, some of our uncles and cousins and bobo them. It's hard for them to get a job. So they end up going right back into the system because they could not, society would not forgive them. But there are prisoners like Martha Stewart, who went in a billionaire and came out a billionaire. And then there are prisoners like Joseph, who went in with nothing but favor, but came out not just with freedom, but with a promotion. Touch your neighbor and tell your neighbor, I'm coming out. I'm coming out with favor. Touch your neighbor and say, I'm coming out. I'm coming out with a promotion. The favor of the Lord is on me. High five 3 people and tell them favors on me. Favors. Come on. Anybody can be freed, but not everybody can be favored. I'm about to be elevated. I'm about to be promoted. Say Can I preach for a little bit? I need about 125 people. It's time to get out of here and go eat some chicken. But I need to tell you right now that it does not matter where you are as long as you trust God and remain faithful to your assignment, that God will do what he said he'd do. Favor will allow you to live in things you didn't pay for. Favor will allow you to operate at a level of increase, operate at a level of election, because God will shift the negative. Look at your neighbor and help me preach for a minute and tell him God is about to shift the negative. He's going to shift the negative. What do you mean? God is going to take the negative thing and change the agenda. He's going to pervert the nature. What was meant to kill you. Joseph told his brothers, don't worry, I'm not going to kill you. I'm not going to revenge. I'm not going to get revenge. Because what you meant for evil, God turned it around for my good. That means God has a way of taking what was designed to kill you and perverting the nature of the attack and making the attack promote you. I don't know about you, but I got a testimony that I thank God for my attacks. I thank God that I've been attacked, that I've been accused, and I've learned from my afflictions. I've learned that many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord will bring them out of them all. Shake somebody's hand and say, neighbor, oh neighbor, God is turning. He's turning the negatives. The negatives are not going to come out negative, but the negatives are going to come out positive. It was good for me that I'd been afflicted, that I'd learned from his statutes. Tell your neighbor, we are about to be promoted. I come to prophesy and tell you, Joseph prophesied to the cupbearer, and he said, cupbearer, don't forget about me. When you get up there, remember me. 2 years passed, and the cupbearer forgot about him for 2 years. But look at your neighbor and say, 2 years are up. God's about to make people remember you. God's about to make people remember who you are and what you can do. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, favor is speaking my name. Favor is passing out my resume. If you believe it, shout yeah! Shout yeah! Joseph gets a call, and Joseph, when he got the call, the scripture says he shaved, he cleaned up, and he changed his garment, because I believe that something in Joseph knew that he would never come back here again. I want to know, is there something in you that still believes that God will do just what he said? And when he shaved and changed his clothes, Joseph went up to the king, and the king put his ring on him, and the king put his robe on him, gave him a chariot. Come here, Beyonce. I hear the Lord saying, I'm going to do a Beyonce on you. Because I love you, I'm about to put a ring on you. Because I love you, I'm going to give you my ring. I'm going to give you my influence. I'm going to give you my favor. I'm going to give you my blessings. Church, say it. Say it. I need about 50 more people that'll help me preach this thing. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, we're about to live in the palace with no payments. I'm not paying the mortgage. It's coming from the king's treasure. I already paid for it through praying and fasting. I already paid for it through being dedicated. I come to tell somebody that you're about to walk into this new year. You're about to walk into this 11th year of the new millennium. And the Lord told me to tell the house, get ready for the year of the extra measure. If you give God more from you, you'll get more from God. Look at your neighbor and say, this is the year of the +1. I'm not by myself. I'm not alone. This is the year of the added thing. First ye seek the kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be added. Look at your neighbor and say, +1. Favor is on me. Blessing is on me. Influence is on me. Say it. Somebody didn't get it. This is the year of the extra measure. You're not just coming out, you're coming out on top. I need everybody that believe it, open your mouth and shout. God, he said, Lamar, look at how I said I'd bless in your giving. He said, I never told you I'd bless you according to the amount. I'd bless you according to the measure by which you gave. Everybody standing. What do you mean measure, Pastor Simmons? I gave $100 today. $100 from a person that didn't want to give it is different from $100 from a person that had the type of heart that said, Lord, if you ask for everything I have, you could have it. It's a different measure. The measure by which you serve God in this hour. God told me to tell you, for some of you, he has to go through too many hoops for you to obey him. He said, the measure by which you've been serving me has not come from a pure place. He said, too many people have an agenda. And he says, I never told you to consider blessings. I told you, take no thought of what you shall eat or drink, neither have an anxious mind. I always told you I'd take care of you. You just better take care of my agenda on this earth. And for us to live in a palace with no payments, because I mean, promotion does cost. You do understand that when I lived in Treehouse, in a little Treehouse townhome, some of you knew me back then, my rent was $500. Now that I live in a much bigger house, my mortgage is much more. Any promotion comes with a larger payment. But there are some promotions from the Lord that he says, keep your money. I'm going to make this businessman over here fund your vision. And I'm doing it because on every phase I took you through, you still were faithful. And because you were faithful on every phase, I'm going to give you favor on every phase. The hard part is not getting the dream to happen. It's getting you to serve the God of the dream. Joseph said before Potiphar's wife gave him a good setup. Potiphar's hard to hear. You're the man of the house anyway. I tell you what, Joseph, you look good. I look good. When you're done with the kitchen, come in here and break me off a little piece. Nobody will ever know. Nobody will ever know, Joseph. I need a little bit. And after all, you are my slave. Joseph says, now, as much as I might like to break you off a little piece, There's a dream still sitting in my head from when I was a little boy. And I am devoted to that dream, and I cannot do this before the God of the dream. I will not accept your offer because what I saw when I was a little boy, I wanted so bad that I'll turn down every temporary fix the enemy brings my way. If you want favor, I don't care what phase you on. If you want favor for it, you're going to have to be more faithful. Faithful to the God of the dream. Scripture says, a dream deferred makes a heart sick. But it makes a heart sick that it's not sold out to God.